So, folks, we are joined by Kathy Gardarian, who is the author of The Wisdom of Love in Business. And as we prepare to delve into our conversation on the topic at hand, applying the wisdom of love in business, here's an exciting twist. First, let us tickle her brain. So, Kathy, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few, and I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. Are you ready for it?
I think so.
Perfect. Let's get the ball rolling. Here comes the first word: curiosity,
Wisdom.
invention,
Required.
future,
Unfolding organically.
book,
Information.
movie,
Creativity.
aliens,
Here to help us.
universe,
Well, we're part of it all.
leadership,
Self-awareness.
role model.
Inspiration.
And the last one is success.
Inside job.
Amazing, spot on responses, and I loved every response. And thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire round so sportively. And there is one more rapid fire round towards the end of the episode. And before I formally welcome you to the show, let me welcome the audience. So, folks, you have tuned into TGV, and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, where we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. I'm your host Naveen Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place through valuable discussions that add value not only to your life but also to your career. And thank you so much for tuning in. And Kathy, hearty welcome to TGV. How are you doing today? Excited to have you as a guest on the show.
I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm doing well, and I'm actually excited to share some of my stories with your guests.
Yep. So looking forward to it, and let's get the ball rolling. And here comes my first question. So we'll begin with your success mantra, as in you can share the top three things that have contributed to your success so far.
Well, the first thing for me, I had to move through a lot of fear to start my company because I was told I was a woman and I couldn't have a company. And so you really have to look inside at your belief systems and see what's holding you back. And I did a lot of that in order to start. And the other thing, you have to find your tribe. You got to find your loving colleagues that will really tell you when you're off track a little bit.
Mhm.
They're going to be there to remind you of what you probably forgot. So that's definitely been very, very big in my life. And the third thing, really, you got to lead with love. And we almost have to learn that if you want to do it all the time. When you lead with love in business, it is just so kind and fair to the other person, especially when people are difficult.
You got a different perspective, and all the thoughts that you have shared are so intriguing, especially to find the tribe who are going to remind what we are and what we have forgotten. That is so profound. And now let's talk briefly about your book. So, first of all, the title itself is so intriguing, so attractive. Like the wisdom of love in business. How come somebody infuse love in the business, right? And how it delves into finding one's inner compass for both personal and professional fulfillment.
Yes, and the reason I changed the title to that, The Wisdom of Love in Business, is because that to me in the end was the main area that I wanted to talk about. You know, I'll tell you that the way I started was I was working for 5 men in Los Angeles before I started my company, and they were just so old paradigm in the way they thought about women.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, I was the only woman in the sales department. And when they closed the door of the sales meeting, there's like 30 men and me in the room. And the president would say, "Oh, yes, Kathy has the highest sales totals among all of you this month. So how do you like being beat out by a skirt?" And he would also tell me that you're a woman, you could never do a company like this. And it was, I'm used to go home and just, because I had a lot of fear and I had never even thought about having my own company, I had to start looking at all the things that were getting in the way of my even thinking I could do it. I mean, I knew that I could sell and I was doing well. And I always say, never stay for the money. And for a while, I was staying for the money because I thought I was making good money. But I also couldn't go to work every day to a place that couldn't totally accept me and to be kind and supportive. It
Mm-hmm.
was very difficult. Yeah. So the book is a lot about what I went through to get where I finally went. So the book has a lot of wisdom in it. Wow, I must say, there's because I know that I'm not the only woman that has had these issues and even a more difficult childhood. I mean, I didn't have a lot of support, so it's really an inside job. That's for sure. Got to look inside.
So great. I think we'll find a lot of personal anecdotes and your own experiences in the book, and that is great to hear. Also, Kathy, you mentioned the importance of understanding our early drivers for success, right? So, could you elaborate on how identifying these drivers can impact our journey in both personal as well as professional realms?
You know, we've all had trauma in our lives, and it seems like the trauma kind of drives the way we think and see our lives, and we think everything is about that.
Mm-hmm.
And and it stops us. And I always say it's time to just take a look at the biology of your belief systems and start to see how they're running your life. Because there's just times when you've got to forgive yourself, you've got to forgive others, let it go and move on so you can move forward with your creativity and the genius that we all have to give to the world.
Got it. All right. So you mentioned about meeting Dalai Lama has significantly impacted your perspective on life and career. So share with our audience how this encounter influenced your approach to leadership as well as relationships.
Well, I'll tell you, that was a once in a lifetime meeting.
Wow.
Actually, the truth is, I saw him two other times after this, and he remembered our conversation. But I was just a new member of the World Business Academy, which I'll talk about in a bit. And they called me and they said the Dalai Lama's in Newport Beach for a week, you know, and they are going to allow a few academy members in this private home. There's only going to be 40 people there, and the Dalai Lama has agreed to sit individually with each person.
Hmm?
So we want you, if you want to go, you know, we want you to think about what you want to talk about. Well, I can go. It's in my backyard, you know, and basically at the time I was doing business with the Home Depot stores, and they had just asked me like a year before to go to China and find an additional factory to make merchandise bags.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to cost average between importing some of the merchandise bags and using our domestic suppliers. So at that time, where I found this fabulous factory in China, south of China, all run by women doing a fabulous job. I love everyone there was so kind, so wonderful. And it was going well. And I had 7 containers on the water, some going to the East Coast, some going to the West Coast. And then all of a sudden, Tiananmen Square happened. And that incident, I really didn't know what to do because I had a lot of friends say, you know, they've just killed 3,000 students. You know, you really need to take a stand for human rights and stop doing business in China. Well, at the same time, the Home Depot was opening 246 stores a year, and I had to keep supplying the existing stores while expanding to include the new stores.
Mm-hmm.
I actually agreed with my friends and wanted to take a stand, but I didn't know how to do it from a logistical standpoint. So I knew exactly what I was going to ask the Dalai Lama. So when we first met and we were sitting on the couch, and he's such a wonderful human being and he's funny, and we were having this great conversation. And then I got to my question and I told him my situation. What should I do?
Mm-hmm.
He stood up. Well, he stood up, I stood up. And do you know, he took his hands and put his hands took my hands, held them. And this is what he said: Kathy, why would you punish the Chinese people further for the thoughts of a few? He said, let me tell you, That's not how you create your own reality. You never, this is important, you
Mhm.
never think about what you don't want. And he said, you only put your energy and your consciousness in the pool that you want to see. You actually act like it's already happened. And that's how you create your own reality of the things that you really want to create and to see. And, and he watched my eyes and he could see that I thought, wow, I never thought about that. I didn't think about holding life like that. And he could see that I got it and he was smiling. And so I have to say that changed me really in my entire life. And it changed how definitely I did business. And when I thought about those lovely women, I ended up doing business for about 3.5 years more there,
Mhm.
and it was really good. And I liked supporting them, and we did. Again, it was profitable and very rewarding. So, and by the way, like I said, I saw him 2 other times because of the academy, and he remembered. And I said, You're just marvelous. I mean, to keep holding that vision like that is just wonderful. So I want everyone else to hear that.
Amazing. That must be the most fruitful experience and most memorable experience for sure. Now let's talk about the academy, right? So tell us
Yes.
more about your experience with the World Business Academy's intervention and how did this experience shape your understanding of leadership as well as business?
Well, let me start with the fact that I read an article by Willis Harmon, who is in the Stanford Research Institute, on a Saturday about how business people were going to the Stanford Research Institute and wanting to talk about business and science
Mm.
and um, and how they would how everything is interwoven. And he said, well, why don't you just start your own place where people can come and talk about that. So they did. And what it is it was a meeting where you had to be a CEO to join.
Mhm.
And I was reading this, and my company was 1 year old. And I was a CEO. I was only 1 year old at that point. But so I knew somehow intuitively that this was the tribe I was looking for. I couldn't find anything around Orange County at that time. The dialogue was very, up here, superficial, didn't get deep enough for me. And I could tell that I could drop the dialogue down and learn a lot more. So I could hardly wait to call Willis. I called him on a Monday and he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, you sound perfect for the academy. I will have the president of the academy give you a call. Well, the president called me a few days later, and I'm talking about how I really want to join this group. And by the way, they were located in San Francisco. I'm in Southern California. It would require my flying up to San Francisco once a month. I was willing to do that. So I'm talking to him how excited I am. And so this is what he says. Well, you have to be a CEO to join. And I said, well, I am. And then he said, well, you have to make a minimum of $2 million a year in sales. I go, I'm way past that. And
Yeah.
then he's really quiet. And I'm thinking, now what? And then he said, well, you'd be the only woman.
Mhm.
I said, well, I'm kind of used to that. And I said, I know I can bring value and I can get value from this group. I just know it. And I want to tell you that I was a member for 22 years and I never missed a meeting anywhere in the world. And we went all over the world with business.
Mhm.
So, but again, every month you're there and you can discuss in a roundtable with these other CEOs about any issues you're having. And because they were some very large companies in there, CEOs, everyone had something wonderful to tell you so that you could go back and be more successful. Well, I had a buyer at the Home Depot that was so difficult.
Mhm.
He was this close to my face and yell and scream and threaten the business and would a person that would ask a question, and when you start to tell him, he thinks he's heard enough and then he interrupts you, but he didn't really get the message. The whole thing was so difficult. I thought, and this was after 7 years I had the business, and I was shipping nationwide. It was all going beautifully till he dropped into my life as the new buyer. And I finally thought I was going to walk away and leave the business and that account. And I said, and every time I'd go up to the academy, all I would do is just complain about this guy. So finally, one day, they had an intervention in me. They said, close your eyes. They said, do you think that this person is another aspect of the divine? And I remember closing my eyes, and all I could see was his face screaming at me. So I opened my eyes and I said to these guys, I said, wow, I might be one with all of you, but I'm not one with him. Then they all laughed at me. They said, okay, close your eyes again. We think you know this, you've just forgotten. And so then they said, do you think he's coming from love or from fear? And so, of course, I opened my eyes. I had to make the guy wrong. I said, well, he's not very loving. And so then they said, well, do you think that's the truth of him? That's when I started to remember that we're all born in love. We are all God's children. And I thought, okay, so the intervention they told me to do was the next time you're with them, I don't care if it's on the phone or in person, I want you don't have to say anything. Just bring your energy in the room and literally beam him love. And I remember flying home thinking, oh, how am I going to beam this guy love? I really worked on me for me to change my ways and to see if this would work so I could make a better situation for all of us. So, and it's interesting synchronicity in the world, because the minute I got home, he called and was screaming about some price increases. And he said, get in my office, right away. Well, his office was Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm in Newport. So I remember flying there and just dreading being with him. And I remember thinking, well, I'm going to have to, beam in love. Do you know that I did that for a year and a half? Didn't say anything, just used my feminine energy to just change the energy in the room. And do you know that one time, a year and a half later, he called my office on a Friday night, and we had a problem with one of our manufacturers, and he wanted me to find a way to keep them, but they weren't shipping on time, and that was a problem. So, but what he said to me on the phone was, well, when you see them, I want you to try to make this be good. I said, I will. And then he said this, Kathy, how you sometimes come in a room and things seem to calm down. He said, do that. So I knew then that he was feeling the love, but didn't even know how to express it. Very interesting. So after that, this guy would fly in and to my company. He gave us millions and millions and millions of dollars more business because he kept telling everyone, can you believe these guys are vendors? I mean, they're so great, the best we have, and I want to give them as much as I can. And I mean, my business grew because he trusted us and because I actually loved him for the way he was and the way he wasn't. So that's, I share that with as many people as possible, because there are some difficult people. Yeah.
All right. Now let's talk about the core of today's topic, which is about the importance of relationships in business, right? So many a times business is viewed through the lens of transactions, but you emphasize the importance of relationships, right? So how can individuals and organizations shift their focus from transactions to building meaningful relationships in businesses?
Well, I think the way the Dalai Lama had asked me to hold life, and the way Academy said, Gandhi said it, you be the change you want to see in the world. I think that if we really care about being transformational in our lives, that we'll take that on. And we're not going to just look at business as transaction, yes. And I always say you have to do what you say you're going to do. And that's been very important also. You have to be responsible. And I know, because we did 2,500 Home Depot stores. And if somebody was out of product or had a problem, we'd say, we'll just ship you another pallet the next day. My company is 35 years old now, and we never have had any kind of a legal situation, we always just handled what needed to be done next, and we did it with love.
Mhm.
That's probably the best advice I can get. You can hold it in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's really what happened to me, was people really reminding me that we have that power.
And this has been fabulous conversation so far and full of insights, amazing nuggets of wisdom. And it's time for us to add some more spice and some more excitement to the episode. If you're ready, I'll kick off the second rapid fire round.
Okay?
Okay, here comes the first bullet. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
It would say, love is the bridge between you and everything. That's
Wow.
actually a quote. Yeah.
Love is the bridge between you and everything. So powerful. And Kathy, complete this sentence or this phrase 3 times. Never have I ever.
Never have I ever skydived out of a perfectly good plane. Never have I ever changed the oil in my car. Never have I ever skied the cornice at Mammoth Mountain. That's the steepest part of that.
Creative. I love them. So, Kathy, can you also describe yourself in just one word?
Encompassing.
Wow, encompassing. And who would you like to swap your life given a chance?
Well, the first thing I thought was, I don't want to swap my life, but I wrote my good friend Jean Houston, because she's changed educational models for 108 countries for the UN, and she's written over 30 books and been with so many wonderful people all over the world, and has helped so many women. So I really admire her and love her.
Superb. So let us invite her to our platform.
Yeah.
So, what comes to your mind when you hear the word famous?
Well, I struggle with that, because I think obviously as someone who's accomplished and successful, but then I was thinking, does he mean like a famous place? Because how much I love Egypt, and I love the pyramids at Giza. So that's what comes up for me.
Got it. And here comes the last. Yeah, here comes the last bullet out of rapid fire round. One. What is one electronic gadget or a fantasy gadget that you'd like to see or invent yourself?
I would love to do a time travel machine.
Yeah, that's a good one, and I wish you all the best. Hopefully, we will find it very soon. And Kathy, let's flip back to the mainstream. And as a final thought, what advice would you offer to individuals who aspire to lead with love in their professional lives but may face resistance or skepticism from traditional business perspectives?
We really have to walk gently in the lives of others, because I think there's a lot of wounds that are not visible. So if we, again, like the Academy taught me, if we choose to lead with love, I think that, in the end, you put the human spirit in the equation, it's going to be more rewarding, it's going to be more productive, and it's going to be more profitable. So you be the change. We just have to be responsible for ourselves. Yeah.
Super, simply amazing, and I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. How is your experience being hosted on TGV, the Guiding Voice platform?
No, I love doing this, because I love sharing and telling people what really works, and how much happier you can be, and how much more productive and profitable you can be. So this is just lovely, and you're lovely in person. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you taking time in joining us for sharing amazing insights with our audience. And I'm looking forward to hosting you again in future. And I wish you all the best in everything that you do, Kathy.
Thank you very much, Naveen.
All right. So it was such a pleasure hosting Kathy Gardarian. And folks, before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request in case if you haven't already subscribed to the Guiding Voice podcast. Request you to subscribe to our podcast from wherever you have tuned in, because subscribing keeps you updated on new episodes and you will never miss out some amazing content from guests across the globe. And if you have enjoyed the conversation and found it useful, request you to share with at least 3 of your friends who would also like TGV, the Guiding Voice podcast. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. Now let's hop into the trivia segment of today's episode. We have seen Kathy has been positively influenced by meeting Dalai Lama, right? So I thought I would present you a few facts related to Dalai Lama. First one is about the languages and the tech or technology curiosity. The 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, has shown a keen interest in learning languages and has been fascinated by science and technology from a young age. And despite his traditional Tibetan Buddhist upbringing, he has engaged with scientists and scholars from around the world to explore the convergence of Buddhism with scientific inquiry, particularly in the fields of quantum physics and neuroscience. And his curiosity about the workings of the world extends to learning about new technologies, showing that spiritual leaders can have a profound interest in the scientific and technological advancement of humanity. Next is about a passion for repairing watches. One of the less commonly known hobbies of the Dalai Lama is his passion for repairing watches. This interest began in his childhood in Tibet, where he would take apart and reassemble watches gifted to him by visitors. His fascination with mechanics and how things work translated into a lifelong hobby, and this aspect of his personality showcases a meticulous and patient side and qualities that are perhaps unexpected in a spiritual leader, but underline the depth and diversity of his interests. And third is about Hollywood connection. The Dalai Lama has an intriguing connection to Hollywood, albeit indirectly. He was portrayed by several actors in various films, most notably in Martin Scorsese's 1997 film Kundan, which chronicles his early life and escape from Tibet. Beyond biopics, he has met with numerous celebrities and filmmakers who are interested in Buddhism or Tibetan causes, using these interactions to spread awareness about the situation in Tibet and the values of compassion and mindfulness. So, this blend of spiritual leadership with pop culture visibility underscores his unique position as a global figure who can bridge traditional religious boundaries and modern media. So, these are the facts which I wanted to share about Dalai Lama. Likewise, if you are aware of any interesting and less known facts about Dalai Lama, please let me know. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can comment there, or if you have found the episode on some social media platforms, you can comment there as well. And folks, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. And we would love to hear from you. So do not hesitate to share your ideas, feedback, topic recommendations, and also guest speaker suggestions either through our social media platforms, or you can also email us at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. 4 as in digit 4 and you as in letter U. And let's create content that resonates with you. I'm your host, Naveen Samala, a lifelong learner, and my goal is to have impactful conversations that improve not only your life, but also your career. So until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember, the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Take care.